See, the whole idea of all this, once this is in place, can you imagine trying to get in there with an ink pen? Almost impossible. So the more detailing you can do on parts before you install them, wow, you're just ahead of the game. Now every year when I haven't done any ink line work for a year, I dig out my ink pens, and they are usually filthy is what it is. But I always, the ones that have black ink, I leave with a black piece of tape. In this case, I want to have a medium size line. Let's just hope within hope that, oh look at this, it's so stuck together. See, no, that's a fine tip. Years ago what I did a couple times, maybe I ought to do it this year again, is I sent these pens out to Bob Martens and he cleaned them. So expensive to buy these now. Set like this, years ago they were cheap. Here they go. You can bet your life this is going to need a little work. By the way, any ink lining you do, if you look at the ink type, it's black India ink, and of course there's white India ink. It also, they make it for paper or for film. You want the ink, I found it to work a little better, the ink that you use for film. Also, if the ink isn't sticking, in this case I got to clean a pen. If it isn't doing what you want it to do, rubbing the surface with some talcum powder, and that's a trick I got from Frank McMillan, and it does work pretty well. Before you go doing any inking, you can just wipe the surface with that. In the meantime, I'm going to take this pen apart, and these do come apart pretty easy. But next time you see me, my hands will be all black full of ink. See, a lot of times they're just out of ink. Half of the job of doing a nice ink job is getting the pen to work. Of course, if you're just, see, there's no ink in there. That's downright empty. The question is always, and I've tried it myself a million times, here's where it's going to get messy. Come on, baby. Anyway, the trick is, a lot of people have found alternative pens that work, but I still think in my case, and I've tried about 500 different pens, for this kind of work, the best pen in the world, and then now you have to shake it and try to hope that it isn't all clogged up from last year's ink. Yeah, this is going to have to be cleaned. Yeah, but don't panic. In this case, I'll run this tip under hot water. Now keep in mind, one of the things, and I don't claim to be a draftsman or not even a trainee draftsman, these pens are the biggest pain in the neck. Look at the stuff coming out of them. But you know what? I can't complain because I don't do the maintenance. And the people like, well, Bob Martens, that are professional draftsmen and deal with this all the time, they know all the tricks, see? The problem is there's no video on how to do this. I haven't found one anyway. If I could find out. What I did one time, I stored the pens. I just took the tips out and put them in Windex. That didn't work. Next year they were the same as if I didn't do it. So all I do is I try to keep them filled with ink, and that's probably the wrong thing to do. Anyway, I'm sure after Bob Martens sees this video, he's going to be sick. Anyway, usually if you do this for 5 minutes, you'll get the pen to work. Look at this. It looks like we've cheated death again. See, as crude as that may be to clean pens that way, that boiling hot water seems to work. Whatever clogs up in pens, that's a tip you can put in the bank. White ink tends to clog up a lot more than black ink, so always good to do your black ink first. This way you get in the mode. Okay, once I've done that much, now I'm ready to start some detailing. Hey, you might be thinking a lot of this stuff is overkill, and well, you're probably right. Now, the reason I used a little ruler is it has some pretty decent spacing for where I want to have, and I've looked at the books that show the riveting detail, and it looks like this will be a close simulation of it. I've tried other pens. This always seems to be the best. And again, I often wonder, you know, once a plane is finished and you skimp on cockpit detail, wouldn't it be nice if that first rainy day of spring you could have gone back and put one extra day into the cockpit? Now in my case, I put about 2 weeks into this. But I look at it for the next 10 years, or hopefully longer than that even. And once you pick up a little technique how to do this, obviously you can improvise on all kinds of detailing. I guess we're lucky we even got the white ink to flow today. Anyway, a little bit of detailing like this, I think it really dresses it up. Now with the two sides installed, that gives us a little more interest in there. And again, I'm going to let all the glue make sure it's good and dry before I go on to the next step. It's a good idea too to get a little box at this point in time. See if we can get the light to focus in on here a little different. Now first thing I want to do, I want to dress these edges off. Get this dressed off. The next step will be to make up the template for the dashboard and the seat. Both of those two pieces, and that'll kind of round out and we can get a good look at where we want to do more detailing on this. We're allowing about 2 weeks for this total time to keep us on schedule. Really good idea. Now I haven't put the wheel on yet because I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but to get a little box and keep all your little trim pieces, because we're going to make handles and levers and lights and switches and everything, keep them all in a box while you're working on it. Just makes it handy. Every time you work on this, it just gets a little bit more interesting and a little bit more exciting to you know, to see it starting to round out and take place. And what we've been doing, we've been trying to work on this every day for a couple of hours. We've got a pretty good time window that we're working and trying to do all our molding work and helping other people get ready for VSC and the Nats. But we definitely get at least one session every day in on this. What I try to do here is make just a rough balsa pattern for the shape of the dashboard. Now in a real model, it's more horizontal, vertical. It's straight up and down. And I like to angle it back always so you can see the reflection of the glass off the instruments. And again, this is not a real prototypical. We're not going to get scored on you know, what the instruments look like, but when the dashboard is angled just slightly, all the little detailing really just jumps out at you. And as you walk around a model, the light will catch a different piece of the glass or the jewels that are in there or the switches. Everything seems to sparkle just a little nicer. So with that little piece in mind, now I can start to lay out what I want my dashboard to look like. Now the next step in this is I want to have the dashboard stick up just a little bit, but because I made a straight cut around, I need to make this an angle cut now. And I can trace this with a pen line, and obviously it'll have a little bit of a curve to it when it picks up that angle. And by running a pen right across there, you get a pretty good shot on the first cut. Now I can see these little angles. Let me just do a little dry fit here. So I want to make a new pattern up, picking this up and connecting this piece of the dashboard so I can come out maybe 1/8 of an inch, and then that'll give me a little place up here for my rocker switches. Now what I can do from this little original pattern, again these are just patterns that I'm making. I know the bottom piece is okay, and I know up to here everything is going to stay the same, and I know this angle is going to stay the same. So now I want to come out here roughly, well, make it a little bit bigger than it has to be, and just interpolate this curve in here for now. Now of course I have to make sure I'm not interfering with that windshield fit. Now this is officially P1, the pattern. First pattern we'll have for the dashboard of the plane. Okay, now that's set nice and tight, and from this angle here, which to me is one of the critical things, I have a little room out here to do some rocker switches or something with this. Again, by having that little angle, I really pick up, notice I just want to feel by hand, and what I want to do is put the glass over that and make sure I'm not getting any interference, because I want to be able to look right in the window of the Spitfire.